Hello and welcome to an episode of the Odin's Eye podcast. I am joined here with King Mckay, my favorite Vikings YouTuber. And today we are going to talk about Vikings Season 5, episode number 11, The Revelation. King, what's up, man? A lot happened in this episode.
Yeah, a lot did happen. It was actually a really good episode. Unlike some of the other the first episodes we've got for like Game of Thrones, I'd say even last season's first episode wasn't as strong as this one. Especially because we had so many things happen in that episode 10 for the first half season. I really wanted to see a lot of like things kind of start resolved and solidified from like what will happen with that giant battle and all the characters that died in it. So it was really good.
Yeah, and I mean there was an absolutely huge revelation that we thought might be discussed this season. It was kind of teased. So we had an inkling that it might go down in this episode, or at least like the first couple of episodes. And but yeah, we got a lot of great questions. King asked his community for some questions. We have some questions from my community here, and as you know, me and King are teaming up here to kind of kind of cross pollinate and get our communities together and bring all the awesome Vikings fans together. The people who love the show. It's really awesome, and we got a couple seasons left to go. So, King, where do we want to start off with?
I think a lot of the questions were about Lagertha, so diving into her storyline is probably one of the best things we could do. Glenn Kennedy was said, the seer told that Lagertha would be killed by a son of Ragnar. That might not be Ivar, but another son of Ragnar, like her own son, Bjorn. And if this is true, then it would confirm that Ragnar was truly his father. Which that would be a big reveal that, this whole thing with Rollo was just a big red herring, and that he ended up killing his own mother, which would just blow everyone away with a big twist. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, in history, Aslog was Bjorn's mother, right? So, I mean, Lagertha was this fantastical shield maiden. Some people don't even know if she was a real character. She was actually a real person. But I think it's really interesting too. And I'm thinking that, does she survive this season is my question, King. What are your thoughts on that? I'm like thinking, yes, she probably does. My percentage for that has went down significantly though.
Yeah, that's the exact same thing I think of. Is at the beginning of the season, before this first episode, I was like, oh, she's gonna be season 6 character. They really love her. They clearly want to keep her around. But like, really, I could see her episode 10 maybe getting out of the show already.
Yeah, could she be like this season's Ragnar? You know what I mean? Could she be like? Because I think that there has to be some major deaths this season, unless they're saving everything for next season. And by the way, everyone, I wouldn't say this is bad news, but season 6B is going to be the last season of Vikings. So that means we get 20 more episodes. They're doing 10 and 10. So season 6 A and B. So technically we get 2 more seasons. Similarly to Thrones, they did 10 episodes, but Vikings is spread out a little bit more. So to me, it's really close to see if they're going to get rid of her this season. But I think they have to save her for the final season. And so here's the question then. What do you think, King? I don't think Ivar is going to kill her personally. Maybe it could be a mercy killing from Bjorn. Like that would be a thing. Like she gets hurt in battle or something like that. And then she her character, her health devolves and Bjorn has to kill her similarly to how Daenerys killed Khal Drogo maybe or something like that. That would be kind of interesting.
Yeah, I think mercy killing is, if it is going to be Bjorn, it will be a mercy killing. I doubt he'll kill her in rage or anything. And that would be kind of more in line with, she doesn't want to be humiliated and then killed by Ivar. That's not how she wants to end. She said that in this episode. So if it does come to that realization that she thinks, no, that's the only outcome, apart from, if Bjorn does this for her, she could probably persuade him to doing it. It would be a hard moment for him, but I could see that happening.
When you think son of Ragnar, do you think Bjorn first? I do.
Just because I think I'm a dark soul. I was just like, that would be just brutal to everything, because he's been the most loyal son, and it's the only one she has, and it would come it would be just so hard.
And it would piss off Ivar too. It would be bittersweet for Ivar because he thinks it's gonna it's prophesized that he's gonna do it, right? Like he's obsessed with prophecy. So
yeah, he definitely feels like it's his right, and what his mission for everything is to try and finish her off. He can't enjoy anything that's happening, him becoming king, all of his power, until he gets that last Lagertha. And if that gets stripped away from him, it could really fuck with him, which would be just entertaining to watch.
Yeah, Woony Leo has an interesting point. Let's say this happens in season 6, and there's season 6A and season 6B. That would be an interesting thing for Bjorn to go traveling again, like leaving his mother dies and he goes on another adventure to discover part of himself again. Could it's like Mediterranean 2.0 or something like that, or he could go venture off. There's rumors that Ivar is going to go to Russia and try to get some new allies and stuff like that. So it's going to be interesting. I think that Lagertha she's such a popular character. I think they're going to keep her till season 6, but I think she might die in like the first half of season 6 or something.
Yeah, I feel like they need to have enough time in season 6 for Bjorn to like really do his own thing, and for as long as she's alive, I feel like he won't be traveling. He won't be going to like Rome or what he thought was Rome, which would be really interesting. That's why something I want to see is that kind of storyline where he travels off and goes find an Italian city he thinks it's Rome because it's so big and grandeur. And he's like, this must be Rome, and then sacks it. And so that could be happening in the last second half of season 6 if she survives to season 6. But if she doesn't, she gets killed off this season, it means we'll have more time with him in all of season 6 to really do that.
Well, okay. Here's another interesting question that stems from this conversation, King, is that Bjorn wins, right? Like, well, I think that this Bjorn is going to win at some point this season. Maybe he will fail once, but he's gonna. Do you think he takes back Kattegat?
I think if he does, it's because Ivar's let it go. I feel like at Ivar, if it would be interesting to see him like try to attack Kattegat, and Ivar kind of like to hold him back or throw him back once, and he tries again.
Him, like leave a trap, like some interesting trap. Like I don't know, man. Something about King Harold or Vitzerk, like going over to Bjorn and maybe like double crossing Bjorn.
I think Vixit double crossing Bjorn wouldn't be as likely as King Harold. I think if Ivar abandons Kattegat and it's just King Harold versus Bjorn, Bjorn's going to win.
Oh, for sure.
So, like, that could be an interesting way to keep both Bjorn and Ivar as powerful figures. Like, Ivar takes his army, goes to England because he sees that Bjorn is not with Lagertha, and that maybe he finds out from a troop or something that's where she's gone, and he doesn't care about Kattegat that much. He just goes off and does that. That would be a storyline I think pretty interesting. But
because I think next season Ivar and Alfred are going to face off at some point. Like, because I think Ivar is going to lose the war in Kattegat eventually, and that will lead him to be more ambitious, and then he's going to go try to take on Alfred, which I think is a mistake.
Yeah. Who won the chess match in the end?
It was Alfred.
It was Alfred. So that
foreshadowing for sure.
Yeah, foreshadowing. So I think the battle between them will be very much a strategic because he's like more crippled, so it'll be less physical, and Alfred's not as physical of a person. So it's definitely going to be more of a chess match war between those two in England, something that I really want to see. Do you think we'll get any of that in this season, or will be more season 6?
I think they're going to tease it, but I think they're going to focus more on Ubba and Alfred, and I totally think that we got an awesome question about Ubba and Christianity, which we're going to talk about. We can talk about it right now, or we can continue.
Yeah, I think it's from Joel. And one of the trailers, Ubba is surrounded by warriors, and they're chanting his name. He's wearing one of the white outfits that he was baptized in. I think this is one of the battles. We're here to see if he's worthy of leading the Danes. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I definitely want. I mean, if they keep on saying that Ubba is the one that's most likened in appearance to Ragnar. Now, what they're also doing is they're doing the King Egbert Ragnar thing, but Alfred is more like Athelstan. So Athelstan and King Egbert are like those two relationships. That's coming full circle, and Ubba is going to have a similar relationship. And I mean, we see in the teaser trailers, Alfred's handing a piece of paper to Ubba, and I think that Alfred is giving them that original agreement of lands and titles to farm and live on. Like, I think that Alfred understands that he can't just be like, yeah, you guys got to fight for me. Like, that's not going to work with the Danes. They're ambitious people and rebellious. Yeah. So he's got to sweeten the deal somehow. So I think, and in turn, Ubba is going to be baptized to show that he is loyal to that agreement, I think. And that's kind of where I think it's going.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where, like, it's very similar to what we saw with Ragnar and Egbert, but it's not quite history repeating itself. It's more like history of rhyming. You know, they're not, they're like different, but there's characteristics of those characters in both of them, and those work really well together. I don't totally agree that Ubba is going to be more like, he's going to be probably the first Viking character to be fully adopted into the faith, into the
Yeah.
English way, and he'll be like the first of many, because we know from history that pretty much all of Scandinavia gets converted to Christianity. That they have a giant like mixing of their cultures. But not only the people who come to England and live there and remain law and then become part of English society, but also huge effects of what England is over in Scandinavia. So this could be the start of that, and that could be Ubba leading that storyline in that way in history. The fight itself,
he ended up becoming king of Middle Francia, I believe, the Ubain history, and Alfred or whoever was in power at that time got them to because there was still some revolt within England as well. Like I think the East Anglians were still revolting against the crown, like they didn't believe that, because Alfred was trying to unify everything, right? So I can't remember exactly what it was, but yeah, that I'm pretty much in agreement with you.
I think history often tries to simplify things, like the actual show history on Vikings. So that they might take the fact that he becomes like a Christian Western king and just rather make him a king in England than Francia. They could put him in Francia, but it feels like it's be easier just to make him an important figure in England than it would be to try and expand it more into Francia. But what do you think about the actual fight itself? Do you think that's like captured Danes? Like they've lost a lot of their ships and whatever. So I think that Alfred's like fight with them could have pacified them almost, and then he wants them as soldiers, but they're not going to follow some like English warrior.
Yeah, and I think that for those of you who have checked out my my preview for episode 12, I said that I think that what's going to happen is that Alfred and the Danes are going to, because we got the Christian church who's going to be an issue for Alfred. There's going to be these other factions that are opposing Alfred. We saw what happened when Judith intervened on Alfred's behalf, kind of undermining Aethelred's path to the crown. I mean, like Aethelred was going to be king. His father died. He's the eldest son. So there's that going on, and the idea of English being taught in the Christian church, but like in English, the Christian church teaching what is said in the Bible in English is kind of an issue then, because there was definitely elitism, and the Christian church was trying to. But I think it's really interesting. I think that they're gonna hatch a plan where they're gonna make Alfred appear like he's weak, like he's gonna admonish Bishop Hagman publicly, and that's going to make him seem more weak. And I think that Alfred is going to make so many like smooth moves this season, and I think that getting to my point here, having Ubba being the leader of that army is really smart. So then they're not saying, "Oh, we're just following like something Christian," you know what I mean? And I think that otherwise that might be a bigger issue that Alfred doesn't want. Like he doesn't want to have these other bigger issues down the road. So nipping them in the butt earlier on is definitely something that is better for Alfred overall.
Yeah, he's definitely not going to have like a very careful throne. Like he's clearly jumping right into the very most controversial things in English society right from the get-go. He's setting the tone for his reign. He's going to make big changes, and he doesn't care if people are standing against him. He's got his ideas in his head, and he wants to make them go through. And Ubba is going to be a great vehicle for him to use, like that kind of more warrior side, because he can't. I don't think he can fully trust his brother too much, because he is still quite clearly arrogant that he's taken this position from him. Like you just see, like every single time they cross to his face, he's like snarling almost.
His body language is not what it like. I mean, for a brother, it seems off, right? What's interesting too, like you're saying, like Alfred, really learning to come into his own. He doesn't, like we were talking before the stream about how Alfred really isn't a physical person. He's got wits, and he's more like King Egbert, right? He's less Athelstan. In when it comes to being king, but it looks like Ubba is going to be teaching him to be more careful about who he trusts, becoming more hardened. And I think that I don't know, man. I know Alfred's your favorite character. I think he's going to be totally badass by the end of the season. We're going to see him fight in battles, like lead by example, being there. And I think that's going to be huge for him. He's really going to lock things down because he's not going anywhere. We know that Alfred unifies England.
Yeah.
So that's pretty huge, right?
He's aware of his weaknesses, and he's clearly going to work straight away to try and fix them. Like just to change his image of being less of like just a elitist, intellectual, and actually show that he can fight, he can be on the battlefield, he can lead troops. And Ubba's clearly the right person to do that because no one's more famous for their brutality and strength than the Northmen. I want to cross back to Lagertha if they're okay with that.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, and then we'll get
the
to Dana's comment as well. She had a great comment.
Yeah. One of the biggest controversies in my comment section for probably the preview breakdown was about Lagertha's kind of hypocrisy almost with if this whole Rollo thing is true. We had Katie who said, how could Lagertha be upset about Ragnar for cheating on her with Aslak when she was with both Ragnar and Rollo around the same time of Bjorn's conception? So I think there's a little bit of difference here from what happened. I think Lagertha would be more okay with what Ragnar did if he didn't make Aslak a queen and an equal wife, because
he just brought her back when she was pregnant. I mean, how in the F would you feel if that happened, right? I mean, like
it's just an immense betrayal, and she has to live with this person every single day, share the same bed, share the same home. It's totally different if he just went off every 9 months and came back with a baby. I think she could deal with it, but because she'd almost been spited by Ragnar in a way, diminished as a person, and she's so proud of like everything she wants to be. She's never a weak woman at all. So that was like she just couldn't deal with that at all.
And them having one child together, not having a second child, that hurt her big time.
Yeah, let's go to that question from the live chat.
Yeah, it was Dana. Or is it more of a comment? Ivar and Alfred are equals. That's what it is.
Yeah. As you said, Alfred's my favorite character. I really love his history. I think Last Kingdom did really good justice to his character as well, if you've seen that show. And if this show does even half as well with the character as Last Kingdom did, then he's going to be just the best character this season and the next one. Them interacting, they were already like pretty cool to watch when they were just like kids having this like chess match, and they clearly got along. And it's Vikings always does those like friends that are like enemies because of power. They do that really well. We're like they're all buddy. Yeah. They're like buddy until they're across from their shield walls from each other, and then they'll just brutally attack each other. So it's going to be very similar to a lot of those other conflicts we've seen in Vikings.
And yeah, man, Alfred, like when he's on screen, he does everything so calmly. And he just, you can see how intelligent and thoughtful he is. And, I mean, look we still have the class system happening now. We look to the royal family, like people like are just like, oh, wow, like, and they're in the tabloids and they're loving everything that's going on. But Alfred legitimately was like, okay, I care about the health of my country, my land, and I care about the small folk as well. And that's something that wasn't necessarily a focus of the previous kings, right? So, but the Christian church, they didn't care about that because they wanted to keep this power and this control over the people, right? They wanted to make sure that they didn't lose any power. So it's a really interesting dynamic of how everything's going to work out.
Yeah, and it's also a bit weird because like if you like know anything about how the world is today, a Christian won't stop giving you Bibles in English, It's clearly it's been a huge shift from what Alfred's done to like what even modern day or like even a few centuries later from this point where like everything's changed drastically now. And the way that like the idea that they would have only in Latin a dead language that only leaders spoke is just crazy. Even especially if you like care about that, if they like, because they clearly love if Christianity, and like they don't even trust anyone who's not a Christian. They won't even do a trade deal. That's why it's so important Ubba becomes one. So it's a smart move on his behalf to try and spread that to the population if he wants that to be a value of England. What do you think about the conflict between Ivar and Rollo? That's a big one I've also got.
So
do you think they're done?
No, not at all. I think that Ivar is totally he's gonna double cross Rollo, and I think actually what's gonna happen in history when Rollo returned, he basically wanted to reconnect with the Norse gods in his home. I think what's gonna happen is in history, Rollo sacrifices 100 slaves to Odin, and I think it's going to end up being Ivar's men. And I think that's the way it's going to happen in the show, at least, because in that moment, we look at Rollo like he was the one that was in command of that conversation because of how much experience that he has. But Ivar wasn't really listening. Like he never verbally agreed to Rollo's long list of demands.
Yeah.
He was like F that, you know what I mean? So what I think is going to happen is I think that Rollo he's going to send men to Rollo, but then he's going to betray him in some sort of way, and Rollo's is going to like sacrifice all of his men, sacrifice them to Odin. It's going to be super crazy. But like we can't underestimate Ivar in that conversation because like the first conversation that Rollo and Ivar had, he was like, "Oh, Bjorn, he can't die. I taught him how to fight." You think Ivar was happy about that? No. And then he was fishing for information on Bjorn. Like he was like, "Oh, do you know where they are?" You know what I mean? And you think that Ivar in that moment was trying to put two and two together, being like, "Oh, like, is he looking? Does he want to go connect with them in some sort of way?" Ivar isn't stupid. You know, I think that in that moment he might have been like, "Oh, he's fishing for that. Is he really going to be like? Is he loyal to me?" Because Ivar is like selfishly thinking most of the time. So I think that Ivar is going to end up betraying Rollo, and I think that's a really bad idea.
Yeah, I don't think Rollo really fooled Ivar for a second. He's definitely smart. If like he's brutal and he's still very smart. I think the entire time he was very cautious whatever he said because he like everything he was just like he was kind of like staying. But Harold was like more aggressive. But you knew that the whole time I was thinking like, how is he going to turn this against me? What do I have to do? How do I follow through with this? So I don't think he's going to pay him anything that he doesn't have to take. Like and those soldiers betraying Rollo and then Rollo kind of getting back at him by killing them would be a really, really cool way for like to see them kind of like tit for tat each other with their own plans and whatever, because that would make sense for the history.
Mooney Leo says he sacrificed 100 Christians. It said that he sacrificed 100 slaves. There is multiple kind of there's people who disagree on it, but I mean it totally could be either. You know what I mean? But I think for the show, the way they're doing things in the show, there's so many inaccuracies in the show. They're like completely off the rails. Michael Hirst is basically retelling the story of Ragnar's sons and stuff. Like, let's be honest there. I still love it personally. I'm just saying.
I think it's actually better this way because if you just went off history, history isn't always the best story. It's just a series of events. And because we don't know so much about it, he has to fill in the blank somewhere anyway. And like a lot of it can be contradicting as well. So like you have to pick one. So I think making it the way it is now gives you a new story, one that like contrasts history and like does it like a really cool justice of its own weird kind of inspiration on that history. And I think that's the way that they approach it is better. I think it's more fun. Also, it means that you always don't know what's going to happen, who they're going to kill. Like I didn't see Sigurd's death coming because he's supposed to be like an important character in history. And it's like, oh, well, if you saw the Ivar Sigurd like kind of conflict, then you could see that culminating to that point. So if you're paying attention rather than just like looking at history, you can actually see stuff before historians would.
Danny Bay says he also admitted he tried to kill Ragnar, and Ivar loves his parents and holds a grudge. Yeah, that's also a big factor. And Rollo was not only betrayed Ragnar, but he loves Lagertha. Like you can tell that he has an invested interest in Lagertha, and Lagertha killed Aslog. So I mean, Ivar is definitely not happy about that.
One of the questions was about Bjorn. Is Bjorn supposed to marry a daughter of a king? Do you think this could be one of the Dane's daughters? Is there a girl standing? He talked about the girl standing behind him in the attack of Kattegat, and also we see him kissing an English princess with brown hair in the trailer. So, which way do you think that's going to go?
I mean, some people are saying that Gunhilde is going to be the love interest of Bjorn. I originally thought that was Porin who is returning because it kind of looks like she might have had a scar, but it's actually just her cheekbones. Unfortunately, I was wrong on that one. I overreached, I was like, oh, I thought it might be her. That'd be cool if like she returned to the story and like, yeah, she was Bjorn's first love. So I thought that would be kind of interesting. Yeah, I don't know where this one is going to go, King. This is kind of interesting. It does look like he's pretty happy, though, and he has a shaved head. So it looks like it's later on in the season. Maybe Bjorn shaves his head like next episode. He's getting those Ragnar vibes, too. Like,
Yeah.
just to show Rollo, I'm going to shave my head. And in my later years, I'm going to be looking like Ragnar.
Do you think he's going to go through an identity crisis now? He's like, start getting pink hair or whatever. I am Ragnar's son. Trust me. But yeah, I think we don't know enough yet. We've only had like a small shot of it, but that would be a really interesting storyline. It probably will end tragically because all of his storylines with women have ended tragically. So we could finally get something that's not a tragic, mishap of a relationship, but I doubt it with his track record.
He's gonna go off to the Mediterranean or something again, or I don't know. He's got to go on another journey. I think he's gonna win back Kattegat, and then he's gonna go on another journey. I don't know. I think that's just how I'm thinking it's gonna go down.
Ironside had a very similar question. It was after episode 11 in the trailers, how big of a role do you think Bjorn will play in the fate of the season? Whether it's in Lagertha's storyline or in general, we kind of covered. Bjorn's, we want him to go off and do his own thing and better training, but he's probably going to stick around until Lagertha dies, whether that's this season or next season, or at least like she escapes. One of the things I had as like a theory in the back of my head was the whole her letting Floki go back to Iceland. And someone said, like, whispered to the person like right next to them, it's because she wants Floki to test it out first. If she can escape and go to Iceland and live her like farmer's quiet life, like she's kind of lamented a few times, that would be an interesting way to end her. I don't know if that's the way the show's going. It felt like more, yeah. What do you think?
I don't know, man. Like it's said in history that she died of old age, but I mean, I don't see that happening. I think she's gonna die. I don't know. I mean, I think there's like they got to do another big death, and that one would probably I mean, probably the most impactful other than Bjorn. I don't know. I mean, as we're looking, like you said, we're looking kind of at like the end of the journeys for characters like Floki, Bjorn, and Lagertha. I mean, the originals, that have been around since the beginning.
The first generation is kind of getting slowly killed off or becoming more irrelevant, doing their own storylines. Some people were actually kind of disappointed with Floki's storyline, mainly because I think it's been so separate from everything that's going on. Like, we've had some pretty epic battles and big things happening, and then it crosses to Floki doing his like small kind of community stuff. So I don't know where that storyline really could go. They seem to be like umming and ahhing around whether they kill him or not. He's gone through like so many mental breakdowns at this point. It's this season. It's going to be another one as well.
I think we had a question. Ivan is have to do. Oh, sorry. Well, we can get to Ivan after. Sorry.
Ivan, is it?
Yeah.
I don't know if we had a specific question about him, so you can cover that now if you want.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I mean, I think he's gonna die. I mean, the whole conflict with him is so pushed. I mean, how much longer can they really continue with that pace? I don't think very much longer. Kettle Flatnose, who's played by Adam Copeland, who used to wrestle in WWE, they got to expand his character. So I think that he's gonna find some way to support Loki, and his daughter is like important in all of that storyline, I think, too. Floki's like someone is diving off that cliff in Iceland. So I don't know if that's a nightmare scenario or that's actually something that's going to happen, but we see multiple characters kind of experiencing like their worst fear. So I don't know if that's actual foreshadowing something that we're like this going to happen or not. But I think that, in the trailer, I mean, he's being dragged by two men, and then we see someone buried in the ground. So that could be him.
Like, we had lots of questions from people who were like, what the hell is happening with Ivar getting stabbed in the heart, like we saw in the trailer? What's happening with all these other things we see, people falling off cliffs, whatever? Your theory, I think, is the best one I've heard so far about how all of these characters, as they're going through quite a lot of like mental anguish after this like quite tragic battle we have, is that they're all suffering from nightmares and visions that are kind of haunting them. And we see like a lot of them with Ivar, we see it with Bjorn. We'll probably see it with a lot of the other characters as well, but we've only got those ones so far.
Yeah, like Ubba is saying, like, help me. Like he's like it's like the POV is in, he's speaking to us. You know what I mean? So it's kind of interesting the way they're framing each of these, the way we are looking in on each of these scenarios happening.
House of the Hound said, "Do you guys? You guys are probably sick of me asking this. The storyline about Rollo and Bjorn. I feel like they have to. Bjorn is Ragnar's son, but what about Gisela? I suspect that she may have been Rollo's. Gisla's 1 year younger than Bjorn. So if she was a son of Rollo's, a daughter of Rollo's, then it would be quite a long relationship that Lagertha had with him. And I don't think it was that long.
No, I don't think so either.
Yeah, just so he's asked me like multiple times, so I feel like
he's also for me as well. Thank you for the question.
I like to see Bjorn's storyline follow more of historical accounts. We talked about that because we've already seen the raid of Paris. He was asking whether he will end up raiding Paris. I think they just gave that storyline to Ragnar as part of history. I don't think they'll repeat that again, especially with Rollo guarding Normandy. Like, it'd be a very difficult thing to raid Paris at this point.
Especially with how much time he's and respect he's earned in that region. I mean, it basically started a new kingdom. So I don't think people would be too happy with Bjorn coming over there.
We had another person who was contradicting the prophecy about the princess. He said, just wanted to say the seer was clearly speaking about two different sons and the prophecy. Bjorn has already been to a desert, so Ubba, Vitsud, or Ivar will be the one to marry the princess. Most likely Vitsud, because Ivar is with Freydis and Ubba is with Torvi. What do you think about Vitsud possibly being part of that prophecy of marrying the princess?
He's got to do something for himself.
Like, they're really keeping his storyline quite secretive at this. We've got nothing apart from one shot of him possibly going against Ivar when Bjorn shows up.
There's some interesting things that we kind of talked about. We weren't sure if it was like there's a character that looks like he could be Vitsurk's twin. So I don't know if there's like something like Vitsurk tries to get away from Ivar by like having like someone that really looks like him being a body double. That seems unlikely.
It's a bit convoluted to just walking out of a camp that he's not really under guard, and unless he gets like captured by Ivar.
And then we later see Vitsurk with Bjorn overlooking Kattegat, and in another teaser trailer, it's my destiny to kill Ivar. I don't know if those are supposed to be misleading, but I mean, is Vitsurk? I mean, and even are you gonna kill me next, Ivar? I think Ivar still has to do a display of power, so he's still got to put some people's heads on spikes and stuff like that. People are unhappy with, people won't necessarily agree or align with how he's doing things. I don't know. Vitsurk is, he kind of is that enigma. I don't really know what's going to happen with him.
Yeah, in your chat, Vikings went to Rome in history. Maybe that'll be the next venture. That's definitely what I want to see. I think that would be the best adventure we could have with Bjorn. If Ivar went to Russia, Bjorn went to Rome, Italy, that would bring us to so many new places, so many new characters, especially probably we'll cover this in season 6 because they have time in that area, and that's how they can expand those storylines.
Ivar also fails in Ireland.
Yeah.
And then Bjorn fails in Rome against like a well-defended Roman settlement. They have like large walls, and they're the way they're tactically set up is not good for Vikings. They're a little bit more strategic than just being berserkers. So it'd be interesting to see if we kind of have all of these characters like go on in their new adventures, and they all fail, and then they all come back again. Because I think that Ivar is definitely gonna. I think he's gonna die in England, like in the final few episodes or something.
Yeah, that was Adam's question. How do you think Ivar's story is going to end? Him dying in England to Alfred in like some big battle where he's like way near. Like, this is like last episode or second to last episode of season 6. I'm talking about. Like, that would be like after a very long conflict, huge amounts of fighting, tons of other characters killed in between that time. He goes down, final big battle. That's the appropriate way to get rid of him in the show.
I think he's going to be burned. I think he's going to be burned at the stake. Remember when he's like, I want to be burned. Like and then Ragnar says, no, you must live. Like, he's talking about how he's like, I must die. In history, actually, Vitsurk dies by getting burned at the stake. Because they're trying to kill more Christians and stuff like that, because they're doing more battles in England and whatnot. So I don't know if that's going to happen to Ivar. They don't really know how he died, other than a bunch of them died together. They found like a huge mass grave, and they suppose that Ivar died in England while he was trying to rebel against the English. against the English. So I don't know. I think that I mean that chess match. It just seems like, and just the way the Ivar is mentally, maybe he will change and become more less emotional and more tactical. I don't ever see that happening with Ivar.
I think he has more of a tactical side in him, but it kind of complements his crazy side rather than being that contradicting to it. Someone asked about whether the seer will die. Definitely, he will die this season. We've seen quite a lot of shots of that. He's been dying for quite some time.
The world is wrecked.
Yeah, they love to use his like dialogue for the trailers or whatever. Do you think Ivar is in favor by the gods? I don't think it would matter in a war with England because the gods only really seem to be like a big effect on characters in like internal conflicts. Having the gods on your side is very important to Vikings. Alfred wouldn't care if Ivar claims he's got some Norse gods on his side. He was like, I believe in a different one. So
I actually think the key to getting to Ivar or defeating him is through Freydis, because I have the theory that she's actually the daughter of Eric the Red, who's going to be apparently helping Bjorn later this season. There's just something about her. She's so confident around Ivar. She's like fearless around him. And I don't know if this is, just her as a character. She sees an opportunity to grab power and become queen, but I don't know. I think she's going to betray Ivar, and Ivar loses some of his armor. He loses some of his. I mean, she could encourage him to be more ruthless, but I think that she's kind of a blind spot for Ivar because she is beautiful. Like when she enters the room in that one scene, he's like smitten by her. You know what I mean?
It's almost like a sort of Ivar we haven't seen before, where he's just kind of like in his. Where he can't control himself, he kind of stops everything. He doesn't even talk to Harold.
When he gets affection like that, yeah. And we saw how he was with his mother, like Sigurd and Vitzer have pointed how like Ivar was coddled by their mother. So it would make sense that he would react that way with a woman because he's never really had a relationship like that, right? Where someone was like, oh, like worship Ivar,
Yeah. Alfred didn't win the chess match against Ivar, just saying. That's what Omar said. I have to go back and watch that. I thought he did. Either that or it was a stalemate. I thought he did win that chess match, but I'd have to go find the scene again to confirm that.
We got a donation from Southeast. Thank you very much. We appreciate that.
Hype and love.
Hype and love. Thank you very much, Southeast. You said you're going to find that?
Yeah, in an interview with both Alex and Alexandria, I've seen some theories on Reddit in the future of Vikings. Some suggest Freydis being the daughter of Eric the Red, like you said, and Alex reacts,
because so Eric the Red was exiled, excommunicated, and then he went on. He was actually wasn't he the man who discovered Greenland?
Yeah, I think he tried to make a settlement there, and it was apparently more successful than their settlement in Iceland, actually.
Yeah. But he apparently, the actor who plays Eric the Red says he's going to help out Bjorn this season. So I mean, that's really interesting. But he had a daughter named Freydis. It is known.
There's a chess match between Hickman I could find, but I can't find this Alfred one. It's clearly isn't a clip on YouTube for it, but we can address that later, maybe in another video.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Do you think Ivar can get it up? Because he's talking about Ivar's sexual reproduction abilities. No, I don't think he can get it up. We saw some hints that either against Ivar's will or knowledge, Freydis is kind of sleeping around to try and pass off a child as Ivar's, or possibly Ivar has commanded her to do so that he can have a child to protect himself from getting overthrown by like King Harold or something like that.
Because that was actually referenced with Alfred from Judith. Yeah. So they had a
scene, right? with Alfred and Judith, and it crosses straight over to that scene with Ivar where he addresses the same exact problem, where he has one flaw, and he definitely, from what we see, he's definitely aware that he is in a very unstable position of power right now because he just took the throne, doesn't have any wives, doesn't have a child. So he's very vulnerable to just be getting killed off in a sleep or something. So that's probably foreshadowing less for Alfred's storyline and more for Ivar's storyline, I think. They were a bit cheeky when they did that. Freydis will end up the Prince Dire in season 6. I don't know what that's addressing.
Me neither. But just be careful with the spoilers there, Winnie Leo. We love your hype, man, but just for other people in the chat, just in case you do know some information about season 6, just be careful in the chat, my man.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
lay off some things we have. Like, that's fine if you don't know for sure, but if you have like confirmed scenes of very like late game spoilers, then maybe hold off them.
Omar said King Harold. I mean, King Harold is interesting, right? I mean, Ivar was an absolute savage to him to just say, like, after he killed his brother, after he swore to fight for him in battle, just be like, yeah, there's other fish in the sea, even though your wife is dead, and even though they didn't have like a real connection. And then it looks like in the teaser trailer, he's like, why are you still here? You going to try to kill me? You know, he's like Ivar was like, okay, if you're still here, you're gonna try to kill me. And then King Harold says, I don't know, I don't want the mess. And then we have, Margrethe saying, I'm going to become queen.
Yeah, we haven't talked about Margrethe yet, so I think she's going to be pretty unsuccessful in almost everything she does. I think Vixit is more aware of her like trying to manipulate him than like he'll be at first betrayed. I think like she'll try like talking to Harold and Vixit and try stir up things like she always does. But this will probably quickly backfire for her. She's lost most of her respect, most of her allies, and she's seen as crazy by most people. So I doubt she'll be that successful. What do you think? Do you think she's going to kill anyone? Try do anything crazy?
I think she's the one that's getting burned by Ivar.
That would be a way to get rid of her.
I mean, if Ivar Ivar is gonna find out that. I mean, maybe what King Harold does is tells Ivar that Margrethe came to him and said, "Hey, if you kill me, boom," and then that gets King Harold on Ivar's good side, and then Harold's kind of playing his own Game of Thrones. You know what I mean? So I actually think that Margrethe is going to confide in King Harold, and King Harold's going to betray Margrethe, and she's going to be burned.
Yeah. So we've covered Floki a bit. We've covered Margrethe, most of the main characters. Do you guys in the chat have any last questions for us? Otherwise, what are your like overarching thoughts of the whole episode to kind of?
One thing before we do get into that, great comment, Omar. Margrethe is dying in the next episode. After Ivar's dream sequence, he'll order his men to kill her. Maybe one of the reasons why Vitsark joins Bjorn. Ooh. Right? Remember, because Vitsark he's like, I'll take my chance with her. I think that Vitsark would be pissed off if he burned her. But I mean, if she's trying to kill Ivar, I mean, who knows? Sorry, what was the question again?
Like, what do you think this overarching? What do you think about the whole episode? I saw your review, but just again,
I gave it like 7.5 out of 10. Like, I thought it was pretty good. I mean, they always have to. I mean, there's been a long time since Vikings has been on, so they got to set everything back up again. I think it's the rest of the season is going to be insane. I think because the first half of season 5 was a little bit of a disappointment, I think, for a lot of people, and I think that Michael Hurst heard all of that. And I think that overall the second half of the season is going to be really intense, and there's going to be a lot of intrigue, a lot of plot twists. And this episode was kind of just a setup episode, but there was big moments. Like, don't get me wrong, you can kind of like see where some of the characters might end up. I thought that they maybe could have had another. They didn't have to end with that specific scene. Maybe they could have like ended with Rollo selling off or something to make it like seem like he's gonna come back at some point. But like, I don't really have that much. Like, I didn't not enjoy that much of the episode. I thought pretty much all the scenes were awesome.
Yeah, I agree that in the first part of the season, we had a problem because they had all this build up for like this big tension, a civil war, and the payoff in episode 10 wasn't quite what we wanted. Like, they killed characters off, but they were all kind of not the major characters we thought were really gonna die. Like, Astrid was probably the biggest, and they'd kind of already like made her like go through so much shit in the last like 5 episodes of that season, and then they'd killed her off as well. So it was like kind of a tragic disappointing way for her to die. And then Halfdan was like also super disappointing to see him die. So this season, they're definitely going to have to make sure that all of the things that were built up, not only in the first part, but now again getting built up as well, is going to be paid off. And if they don't do that, it could be like another disappointing ending. But I feel like from everything we've seen, it's going to be a really good payoff. They're going to make it all worth it by the end of the season.
At Neil's, I don't think Bjorn is gonna go discover America. I think they're gonna do that with someone else, man. But it's gonna be interesting, and maybe they give that to Vitzer Uba, and because that would be pretty interesting. I think that Bjorn he is gonna go do something. I think it's Rome for Bjorn. I think he's gonna.
Yeah.
I think he's
There's enough places they haven't been before America that I feel like they should go. Like definitely Russia, definitely Italy.
Russia's happening. Like there's been like they've cast characters for that.
Yeah, so like America, there wasn't a huge part of like the Viking era. Was like they had 2 settlements they made in like North America, and they abandoned both of them quite quickly after setting them up. So it's like wasn't the best achievements. Like some of the bigger things that they've done, like almost raiding Rome, that was pretty big. Ireland, England, they've still got tons of things to do there. So those things will clearly be the focus for.
Like there's still 29 episodes left. That's a lot of episodes.
Yeah, I guess it is a lot of episodes. Because you always
that's like 3 seasons, man. I mean,
yeah,
any good television show is like 10 to 13 episodes.
Yeah, it's a lot more than we think, because you only think one more season, but we've got all of this half to do, and then another 20. So they could do America as like a small cameo, but it wouldn't be with one of the major characters. I don't think it'd be Bjorn. Ubba, it could happen with, but I feel like his storyline is going to be more tied to England. Yeah. I see him being long term, like with Alfred and with England. I don't see him dying this half this season at all.
They could actually end the show with someone discovering America, and then them doing that. That would be kind of interesting. Kind of leaving it open ended. You know what I mean? They might do something.
They're always teasing that like a possible sequel that they might go if it makes enough money. They need that opening to do another sequel. I'm confused about Ivar and Freydis. The first scene, he seems aroused. Why do you think they include this scene? I think she seems like she can't get pregnant. Yeah, I think she can get pregnant, but not from Ivar. We've covered that already.
Yeah, I'm in agreement there.
Yeah. Well, any other questions or thoughts?
Just overall, man, I'm really excited for the English plot line. I mean, it took some setup. I mean, King Egbert had to die as well, and then they had to set up Alfred becoming kind of his own person, and I'm really excited. I think that's the plot line that I'm most excited for, because I think we know kind of what to expect with the Kattegat stuff. There's gonna, I mean, there's gonna be a giant conflict and someone's gonna win. But the other stuff is, it's like England is a really interesting launching point, because we have Bjorn, Torvi, Lagertha, and Ubba, and they all have to find out where they got to go for the future. And I think that each one of them is going to have their own individual storyline where they kind of figure out what they want to do with their lives, but also at the same time, like, they're still connected to the Dane world. And I think, them getting land is interesting, forming new relationships, Alfred coming to his own, them creating relationships. Like, it's going to be really intriguing, man. And the Christian church, this other faction, becoming a problem, adding more layers to the story. I think it's going to be awesome. We didn't really talk about Bishop Hegman today, but we can do that in another video.
All right. Yeah, so he said that Hearst confirmed that they will be going to America, so they will touch on it at least.
Very interesting. Yeah. Omar says, I'm waiting to see Oleg. Yeah, there's some really, really interesting things that are going to happen with the Russian plot line. I think that, Ivar's going to seek out new allies after he loses Kattegat. So going over to Russia will be interesting, and seeing, maybe he offers up Freydis, and the prince is smitten with Freydis. He's like, hey, take this gift. You know what I mean? So that could be interesting too.
Yeah, so the England, I agree with you on the England storyline, that they will all go their own separate ways. Bjorn's definitely not going to be in England nearly as long as the other guys. He's going to try and get his revenge back in Kattegat. He's very connected to the Viking world. Ubba, he's going to be more like totally removing all his ties to the Viking world, and Lagertha, that's going to be the interesting place where what she does. It's probably going to be the struggle with Hickman. That's going to be her storyline for most of it. I don't know if she's going to take the front seat for a lot of this. Maybe she'll do like stuff with Alfred, like we saw when she was kind of like, she also had a relationship with Ecberg, so she's willing to have relationships with the English kings.
Well, what's interesting too is she has her and Bjorn have a lot of experience dealing with political matters like the one Alfred is going to be dealing with, like the people not necessarily being happy with what's going on in the kingdom. Like Lagertha has dealt with that, right? So she got some pretty good advice. I mean, she was married to Ragnar, and she was like she was pretty much a duo with Ragnar for the most part, for the first part of the story. So I mean, she had almost an equal part say in a lot of things. So
Yeah.
I think that she can give some good advice to Alfred, and I think that there will be that relationship there, and because they really teased that in the trailer. It looks like someone's going to try to assassinate Alfred, and then Hagman, especially for the next episode. Like we said, we didn't talk about Hagman, but it looks like people are going to find out that Lagertha and Hagman have a relationship, and they're going to try to convince Alfred to deal with that situation so they could schmooze him a little bit more, and then end up betraying him and getting rid of him, getting some trust from him.
Yeah. Bjorn will hate the fact that Ubba's been baptized. Yeah, that could probably be the catalyst that makes him leave, If he sees that Ubba is falling to becoming Christian, he'd be like, I don't want to stick around here. One thing you guys haven't touched on is the storyline with Magnus. What do you think about? I think we see him a few times, right?
Yeah, I pointed that out in my trailer preview. So when I was like, hey,
that's an identity spot that I actually saw you got before me. So
yeah, I know it was in the France teaser trailer. It's because Magnus thinks he's the son of Ragnar, right? And so he'll be like, "Oh, I'm going to throw my claim down," and then but we see him with King Harold, which is really interesting. So will King Harold go and seek out another son of Ragnar to oppose Ivar, or are the I mean, because Lagertha, right, was part of that process for when he got excommunicated, was she not? So maybe that he goes with Ivar and King Harold. Ivar goes and gets met, and like they're on Ivar's side. That would be certainly interesting. That like I don't know, or maybe King Harold and Magnus become like another faction, like and not more. Everybody wants the Kattegat throne.
Yeah, like there's lots of theories in the Reddit for sure about Magnus being the son of Ragnar that kills Lagertha, and if he does join Ivar's side, it puts him in a position where he will be against her. So that I'm not too confident about those theories, but that could be an interesting way that they do things. Where like it's not literally a son of Ragnar, but because he thinks he's a son of Ragnar, the prophecy would be somewhat true.
I don't think it would have as much as an impact. I think it's Ivar or Bjorn that's going to kill Lagertha. I don't think it could be Magnus. I think that would be like, I don't know. I think it would suck.
Yeah, and like getting thrown out by Aethelred probably is made him quite against like.
Almost, wasn't it Aethelwulf or is it Aethelred?
Aethelwulf, yeah. That's right. Yeah, Aethelwulf throws him out. Tells him to tell everyone that he comes across that he's the son of Ragnar. So he spread that around where he's gone, and he probably feels
survive.
Yeah, so he probably feels quite bitter about England at this point, and feels like because he's been like thrown out by his family, latching on to someone else, like his family he thinks he owns, and becoming more of that Viking side. It'd be a really weird storyline, but it could be cool. I think Ivar will take him in.
Yeah, it's certainly something that's interesting. That is, we don't have a lot of information on, so it's like, oh, this could be one of the twists of the season where like, oh, that had a really big impact, or it could be something that's, we see it and then it does not, and then nothing really happens. It's like, oh, Magnus just dies. He's too ambitious. Yeah, overall, man, like I'm pretty excited for the rest of the season. I think that it's gonna be a great season.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be a stronger half, I feel, so far than the first one. Just they have to pull off those battles, they have to pull off those payoffs, and it should be great.
I just think that everything is so connected in this season instead of like everything being so separate, even though everybody has to discover all of the things that they have to deal with separately. I think that's I think there's going to be some really, I mean, and everybody's got problems that they're trying to deal with, and they all have to get resolved, right?
Yeah.
Most of them got to get resolved before next season, before they start, getting to the end game. Vikings, man. So yeah, overall, I thought it was a good episode. King, you thought it was a good episode?
Yeah, definitely 7, 8, one of those.
I think next episode will probably be better. So tell us what's coming up next for you on your channel, where people can find you. There is a link to King Mckay's, actually his, I believe, is it his review or preview breakdown in the description of this video if you want to go check out kind of what he's saying on his channel, because me and King Mckay definitely have, like, we have similar thoughts, but he definitely has things that I missed, for sure. He's the man when it comes to Vikings.
Yeah, if we do a one each, then we always we can like stitch it together, cross our thoughts like we do in these live streams, and hopefully we'll miss too much. And you guys can kind of catch us up on anything that we don't get together. Yeah, I do reviews and preview breakdowns every week for the episodes that come out. I'm going to try and put out some character breakdowns as well throughout the season for new characters we get, kind of comparing what their history is to what I think the show will do with them. Also, I want to cover some Last Kingdom videos, which is also a Vikings-related show.
Yeah.
But that might be a bit hard with all the stuff we're doing, but I kind of want to dive into that as well.
I haven't even watched the new season yet. I've been so busy with trying to do Thrones content and Vikings. And then apparently, Marvel Avengers trailer comes out. Is it today or tomorrow? What's this today? Wednesday? Or is it Tuesday? I don't even know what day of the week it is. Oh my God. Okay, it's supposed to come out tomorrow, everyone. Disregard what I just said.
I could say what day it is, but it wouldn't help you very much because it's a different day.
You're in New Zealand. You're in New Zealand, so that would just confuse matters most. But go check out King Mckay, man. He's got awesome Vikings content, and I think you're numero uno as far as King is he's a Vikings king. Get it? Oh, see what I did there? Finger guns.
Don't want to be a Vikings king. You won't last very long. At this rate, they get killed off pretty quickly.
Yeah. So go check out King Mckay's channel. I'll be doing. I have a couple theory videos. Like I said, the nightmare theory. I thought that was pretty interesting. I think in the trailers they kind of tricked us a little bit, and I think that each one of our main characters is kind of gonna see their worst fear happen, and that might not necessarily be what happens. So that way, we're expecting those things to happen, and then when something actually happens, it happens totally differently, and that would be because our expectations are, oh yeah, I saw that in the trailer, or this is how this plot line is going to go, and then it goes differently. And I think that there's going to be a lot of that this season. There's going to be a lot of unexpectedness happening within the episodes. Yeah, but I got more Vikings videos coming, more Thrones videos. King Mckay, also, for those of you that love Thrones, there's Game of Thrones videos as well. And we will be doing this once a week, trying to stay on the same day, King. Tuesday sounds good to me. Next week, we're going to be going on your channel. I think we're going to switch back and forth. Yeah. Cool.
We'll go back and forth. And just for any of you guys, make sure you smash a like on this live stream. Watch all of Azora Hype's content. He's just getting into Vikings now. He's already made some pretty awesome videos, and he's going to be making tons for the season. So he's your next best Vikings content creator, of course, because
hashtag number 2 is Vikings. But yeah, no, thanks for joining me, King. This was really fun. We'll be doing another one next week, like I said, on King's channel. Go check out King's channel. Link is in the description of this video. Like, smash, subscribe, and I guess we got to say the last thing we got to say today. 1, 2, 3. Skull. Wait, let's redo that. That was really bad. 1, 2, 3. Skull. We have a fucking delay. Skull, everyone. We'll see you in the next video.